sure there are many things.
or in democracy.
And make sure you get kids in the classroom and stuff like that. Yeah. But then,
Cosmetically,
Pipe fitters
official
it's like we do not have official letterhead or anything like that, so it's like we can do anything that you guys want to do. It's up to you. That the code does give us authority to create letterhead. It was actually one of the things that's enumerated, but
Things in there, so.
yeah.
So you want us to create a letterhead?
Yeah,
Got some ideas already.
that if there is,
The secretary and treasurer will get together and look at the letterhead issue.
yeah.
Did you want to chip in to help pay for that?
That is actually one thing.
Thankfully, you can do that on the computer now, it doesn't cost.
Sammy, you're still treasurer, help out with this thing.
I know,
That actually is though. It's to a that if it's getting more complex and it's like that's if we're sending out significant documents to 100 members or something like that, there is starting to be cost, and we can some of that can be absorbed just from whatever we do with mail at the office. But if we get too much more ambitious than that, just keep that in mind. There is.
We'll work with you to defray that cost, because I think it's important for us to get this messaging out to all the appropriate people. Now, we're going to send this out, and this is our first one. I think it would seem to me that every member of the board should sign it.
Yep.
It shouldn't be sent by one individual, it should be sent by everybody. Everybody should sign it, they're all on board with it. Okay with you guys?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
Definitely.
So we're going to, if you haven't sent your electronic signature to him, do
Do you
so.
want me to trust Randy with my electronic signature?
I tried to figure out how to get that spreadsheet to fit on one page, and I can't do it in English. But if there is anyone who has resources in their groups that can help make it help prettyfy it, with the graphic work, please let me know, because that would. Because it will look better than if I have to send it to VDOT and then show those guys where to try to find pictures and other things. That'd be great. That's very, very helpful. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions about our annual report and the schedule thereof? Okay, hearing none, we now go to the discussion of our goals and priorities for 2015, and I take you back for a moment. In your annual report, there is, on the pages are not numbered, 1, 2, 3, but on page 4, there is a goals and priorities statement about what we have assigned to the consortium and what we have retained. Is that where you had intended us to start, Randy, related to our goals and priorities for 2015?
I mean, I just wanted to just to have you guys think a little bit about what you want to accomplish, because we spent the first year most of the inventory, consortium creation. It's kind of the projects that we tried to did from the authority side. Now that we will have the consortium to do a lot of the stuff, that I just wanted to, you guys, you didn't really need to have any decision points or anything like that. Just what you guys wanted to do was really what I thought would was why I added that. I wasn't sure how long we were talking about the report, so something else to add.
Well, you think about, as you said, we think about what we did in 2014, ladies and gentlemen. We, put together the authority, we wrote our bylaws, we laid out what our goals and responsibilities were. We talked about what the consortium roles and responsibilities were versus the authority's roles and responsibilities. We established a mechanism for us to continue to start our communication. We laid out what we thought that our goals and priorities should be. And now, as we're creating all this, the real question is, now that we've gone through 1 year of existence, what now should we be doing in 2015 to leverage that, to get out in front of all the folks just how significant and important this is. So I didn't anticipate that this was going to have a lot of discussion here as much as it was going to hopefully stimulate consideration on your part and comments on your part, so that sometime in early January, or certainly by mid-January, we could have a document that we could all agree is our goals and priorities for 2015, so we could begin implementing those in the conduct of our activities.
Certainly we should be anticipatory about what we think the issues before the state will be in the nuclear space for us. I'll have to think about that a bit more, but I'm sure all of us in our respective roles have things that we're going to be focused on behalf of the institutions and organizations we represent.
Exactly, which is what I thought was important for us to focus on what we know we should be doing in 2015, but be prepared to be flexible because there may be emergent issues that come up that require us to adjust accordingly to be focused on those. And I think that's what we have to be able to do, Randy, if that's acceptable to you, is to establish, our goals with a recognition and acknowledgement in that particular goals, that we remain flexible and to emergent issues, and those get added as they become significant enough to be added to our goals and priorities for 2015.
Yeah.
It struck me when Randy was talking about the annual report that he referenced the goals and objectives and sort of the strategies that we talked about a year ago at our formative meeting, and the notes we took at that meeting. I think 2015, now that we've gotten through some of the nuts and bolts of getting ourselves and the consortium squared away and set up, might be a good time to revisit that discussion and get more specific and more strategic and more purposeful about that.
Because the consortium will be looking for that type of direction.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's the number one thing in 2015 is to prioritize and drive a tactical plan out of consortium. Because that's where we go from being conceptual to tactical.
Yeah.
And that'll be the number one thing.
Because at the end of next year, we want to say we've accomplished the next level. We've gone through the procedural and the organizational, and I would give ourselves a little bit of credit for jumping into the Virginia Energy Plan and providing input there. So next year should be about getting the consortium up and running and having that.
Work plan out of the consortium that we can pay attention to.
Yeah, because we've been strategic, now you said we need to be tactical, and now we need to push forward, and I don't need to keep turning to look at you, Sam, because you're one of the focuses here is going to be on the consortium, is that we need to look to you all for your plans for implementation and for measuring your success and give feedback to us to tell us, yes, your strategic plan had us doing the following. Here's how we're going to meet those requirements. Here's the dates we're going to do them by. Here's how we're going to know whether or not we're meeting our goals. I'm assuming that's what you were getting at.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we need to be putting together and thinking on, from our role, okay, what is it we want to make sure we're doing? What is our highest priority for 2015? Have that early on our calendar, and then working very closely with you all to implement same.
And not to lose sight of the excellent points that Jerry made, that could really make a difference over the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years in terms of creating, in my mind, what I heard Jerry say is find something that's going to be transformational for the state in this area that will make a contribution to the general world of nuclear, beyond just trying to stay in sort of the guardrail, or the aspirational in terms of trying to make a difference and leverage sort of the collective strength of the whole group that we have here.
For example, as a follow-up, one of the things that I would encourage the group to, leadership of the group to pursue, is in some course during 2015, and maybe it's not just an hour and a half routine meeting, maybe it's more of a half day event, to actually bring in experts, whether they're from Virginia or wherever the heck they may be from, to speak to the issue of the state of, for example, nuclear medicine. Where is that headed strategically? Who are the players that are investing huge amounts of capital, whether it's federal money, corporate money, what have you? And then on the other piece of my comments, if you will, trying to solve for really vexing, challenging nuclear issues that go beyond the boundaries of the Commonwealth of Virginia. A number of you are more fluent than I am in terms of nuclear waste issues, nuclear safety issues. But I would welcome an education being brought current, which is the latest thought leadership in those areas. And is that something that we as a group, the consortium as a group, should get behind and try to find some energy to push for greater R&D technology outcomes in that particular space. Here again, I don't want to sound like I'm knocking anything that resembles the status quo, but I think we've got to be more visionary and look forward in terms of things that lots of people could get behind and say that's a worthwhile use.
You know,
Time,
one-
energy, capital.
One thought that comes to mind as you say that, a possible goal for 2015 is to create at the state level something that exists at the federal level for the Foundation for Nuclear Studies, which is a nonprofit that's created to educate policymakers on all these issues. And they have programs that they routinely bring staffers and representatives hear about nuclear medicine, or hear about the latest technology, well logging, small modular reactors, used nuclear fuel cycle issues, mining issues. I don't know that anything exists at the state level to educate policymakers on these things, and FNS, or Foundation for Nuclear Studies, probably be willing to come here. I know Mark. So
Mhm.
Yeah, we're big on hires people to come. It's
What do we do?
Well, I've got an article.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably some good, good programmatic stuff that I think is important for policymakers. That the next thing is that they find out what the consortium is and what it's there for. And so it's like when I'm trying to find out, and so it's like whoever sits in my seat in other people's offices, I got to find out something about nuclear energy that I know who to pick up the phone to call. And if we need to find out what they think about something, that they're knowing to call whoever they need to know to call. That I think there's going to be some education of those types of things is going to be a really important part of the consortium being successful. So that it's like when you put together stakeholder groups, that there's a nuclear, so that the consortium at the table, because a lot of it right now is it isn't. I mean, it's like it's Dominion and AEP and the renewable energy groups and stuff like that.
Yeah, is anybody doing anything else on web-based instruction, education, training, just on these issues? Just I'm thinking of busy legislators that are hard to get together in one place,
Some of
and their staffs.
Some of the best material, I think, are on the World Nuclear Association website and the Nuclear Energy Institute. It's got links to the WNA. There's some terrific background stuff in there. So,
And depending on the audience, some of them do better web-based, some of them do better one-on-one through the dialogue.
Mhm.
But I think in this room, we have collectively, I know in my company, we learn everything. And I'm not exaggerating, because every day I discover yet another niche that someone in the 48,000 employees worldwide is working on. So,
I don't want to keep shifting back to the American Nuke side, but forgive me, we established a communication strategic plan, which is a number of the elements of what you're talking about, web-based approaches for policy makers. But one of the things they also do is they provide training through series that they do. As much as 120 to 150 legislative assistants at the federal level every year, where they actually give them courses and sequences, and there's 5 full courses to get the full diploma or if you will, for the entire course, but it goes through all the background, nuclear science, technology, medical applications, all about an S&T, not just energy, but it's amazing how much it gets open the eyes of people that are staff to decision makers that are congressmen and senators that have to make decisions, and now they know where to go, where the information is, where the basics are. For example, when you talk about one thing, Jerry, when we first started explaining the issue of medical isotopes, people were open-eyed. What do you mean we don't make medical isotopes in this country? What do you mean we rely only on others? What do you mean to limit the supply